4 directions, we were able to see the city in a way we'd never been able to before. Tomorrow we'll be visiting the Shaanxi History Museum, which houses one of the most important collections of ancient Chinese relics in the entire nation. As an archaeologist, I'm really excited to see all this because it's going to allow us to get a really interesting glimpse of the past. This morning we visited the Shaanxi History Museum. Opened in 1991, this museum houses one of the most important collections in all of China. As home to 13 different dynasties, the capital city at Xi'an has a really rich history, and this region's history is housed in this museum.
There's over 370,000 artifacts that are stored here, but about 3,000 are on display at one time.
The collections in this museum span more than 1 million years, from the earliest human ancestors up through the Warring States period and into almost the modern era of China.
So we started in the #1 gallery of the museum. Some of the things that we saw there was information on early hominids and early man.
The Lantian man, who was actually a woman, dates to almost 1.2 million years. Additionally, the Da Li man is about 200,000 years old, which is really exciting as an anthropologist. Gets us a chance to see how humans developed, not just the Chinese. Moving beyond the Banpo period into the Western Zhou period, a burial of a chariot featuring numerous horses and the noblemen from the Zhou period is the kind of thing that we're going to be seeing becoming more advanced as the Terracotta warriors period begins.
The next area that we moved on to had tripods, which were vessels that were used for cooking materials. Another thing that we saw were bulbous wine vessels that were used to heat liquor. We then moved on to the #3 gallery, which had information about the Tang Dynasty, one of the greatest dynasties in China's history.
Here, the artifacts contained show off just how opulent the entire culture was. Gold bowls, which were highly elaborate, along with very, very impressive figurines with really interesting paint schemes, all speak to a level of wealth that's well beyond what China had before.
One of the first places that we visited had information on the agriculture and the domestication of animals in China. There was a big emphasis on this in the Tang period, and we were able to see that pigs, goats, chickens, horses were all being domesticated at this time period. We saw metal plows and hoes that were used in agriculture based out of the Tang Dynasty.
I don't much believe in zodiac symbols, but one of the most cool things that we got to see was the 12 signs of the Chinese zodiac. Human figures with heads of each of the different animals represent the 12 different signs of the Chinese zodiac. The best looking figurine was clearly the monkey. It's probably just a coincidence that that's the year I was born.
I thought it was interesting to see my own zodiac sign there, 1977, the year of the snake.
One of the really interesting things we got to see was the evolution of Chinese money. In the earlier periods, shells were used as currency, but as the culture advanced, metal became used as money. Some of the coins we saw feature the very distinct style of Chinese money with a round coin and a square hole in the center.
There were also depictions of camel figurines. This really shows a connection to the larger Silk Road and interaction with foreign groups and societies outside of China.
It's said that the abundance of mirrors in the Tang Dynasty shows that the women of the period were especially vain. I'm not sure that's entirely true, as I think my house probably has more mirrors, but it's funny to see anyways.
We also saw in the Tang Dynasty collection an emphasis on horses and cavalry. We were able to see beautiful, colorful depictions of horses there and figurines, and I believe this may be a precursor to what we'll be seeing at the Terracotta Warriors, more emphasis on a horse-based society.
The last few days, we've focused on the archaeology of China's ancient history. But today we wanted to switch it up and try to get a better understanding of the modern Chinese culture.
Today we visited the Xi'an restaurant, one of the most famous restaurants in the city. Today we're in the kitchen of the Xi'an restaurant, one of the city's oldest.
We've seen all sorts of really amazing cooking techniques that really I'm not all that used to.
We got to observe firsthand what was going on in the kitchen.
2 long tables were surrounded by probably 30 chefs, all running around doing their own specific jobs. But in all this chaos, there were people doing small, beautiful acts of craftsmanship on this food.
We also got to see some of the cooking techniques that were used, such as large steamers and woks that were used to prepare the dishes.
We were really lucky that the executive chef of Xi'an restaurant, Chef Xu, was able to cook for us himself.
The chef is currently cooking Xi'an restaurant's most famous dish, roasted whole chicken. And it involves 3 different methods of cooking and more than 10 different spices. He also later explained what we were eating and told us about the recipes with their origins in the Tang Dynasty. These recipes have been recorded in Chinese literature and passed on from generation to generation. Okay.
Okay. It's delicious. It's really crisp on the outside, but it's so moist and tender. It's pretty amazing.
One of the ones that was really interesting to me was a fish that was in a milk soup. It wasn't a milk soup that we consumed. It was given that name because it's cooked with pig bones that leach out the marrow and turn the soup an actual whitish color that looks like the consistency of milk. Try it. Cheers. The fish has a really delicate, soft flavor, and you get a bit of the flavors of the soup as well.
One thing I never expected to eat in my life was scorpion. But after being told that apparently it's very good for your skin, I had to go back for seconds and finish 2 full scorpions. Tastes a little like popcorn, and hopefully it helps.
You will find the dishes that we had today in other restaurants throughout Xi'an, but these are probably the most original and true to the recipes as they were prepared for the Tang Dynasty.
After filling up at the Xi'an restaurant, we're ready to go off to the Xi'an city wall and see the city from above.
We had a really fun afternoon. We visited the Xi'an city wall.
We entered the wall through the Yongning Gate, meaning eternal peace. This gate leads into the interior of the city. This is the southern gate, one of 4 large, important gates that enter into the city. It's at this location that many famous dignitaries are welcomed into the city of Xi'an, including people such as Bill Clinton.
The Xi'an Wall is one of the most complete city walls in all of China. It currently stands about 40 feet tall and measures between 40 and 46 feet wide. It spans the entire length of the ancient city, about 8.5 miles.
The wall was originally constructed about 1,500 years ago in the Sui and Tang dynasties. The first Ming emperor, Zhu Yuanzhong, expanded the wall. The wall features really impressive construction throughout. Large bricks make up the parapets that surround the entire structure, allowing archers from the Ming dynasty to shoot down on opposing forces.
The wall is constructed out of a mixture of materials, including layers of dirt, lime, and gelatinous rice extract.
Currently, the wall surrounds the interior of Xi'an, and this is our first real opportunity to look into the city. The rest of Xi'an is full of skyscrapers and large residential buildings, but in here, everything is much more tightly packed and much lower to the ground.
You really got a sense of the old and the new, older buildings inside the city wall right next to more modern development. A little over 4.5 miles are available for visitors to ride bikes on. That's what we decided to do this afternoon. It was a lot of fun. Alex got his first experience actually riding a bike on the ancient wall.
And I'm not gonna lie, it was not the easiest thing ever. Oh yeah. As China's expanding, Xi'an too is expanding, and you can really see it in the way that this entire city is spreading outward. But it really is great to see that the city of Xi'an is preserving a really important piece of its own heritage.
Today we took a rainy day adventure to the Xi'an Bell Tower, which is in the center of Xi'an.
The bell tower was constructed during the Ming Dynasty in 1384. Interestingly, it was moved in the 16th century over 3,000 feet to its current location. In the interior of the tower, there are 2 floors. On the exterior, 3 layers of eaves rise to 118 feet.
Bell towers are featured throughout many cities in China, but the Xi'an Bell Tower is one of the most well-known. They were used to signal the morning, and a drum tower was used to signal the night.
While this used to house a bell, the bell was removed after in the 15th century it refused to ring any longer. Coming out of the rain, we encountered a really beautiful little concert going on in the center of the tower.
Cultural Chinese instruments were played, even bells.
Climbing the stairs to the 2nd floor of the tower, we were afforded a look at some ancient calligraphy.
There were intricately carved screens, and the ceilings were really brightly colored with floral patterns. I was really struck by the juxtaposition of old and new as we stood around and looked here. You could see the development, you could see shopping malls,
and a McDonald's and Starbucks. While it's difficult to juxtapose the ancient and the new, that's what we've gotten used to with China. The bell tower is located in the very center of the ancient walls. Stretching out in each direction, the roads from this bell tower reach the north, south, east, and west gates of the ancient city wall.
Right behind me is the south gate of the Xi'an city wall, where we actually rode bikes just the other day. You really get a sense of the population of the city of Xi'an. You can see by the traffic behind me that the population is quite large. In fact, it's larger than the city of New York.
Coming from all cardinal directions, the city's 4 main roads all meet at this point, meaning that Xi'an, a modern industrial city of 8.5 million people, is still keenly aware of its important history. This morning, we visited the royal tombs at Qianling.
The site of Qianling is located in Qian County, which is some 53 miles northwest of Xi'an. Qianling was built in the 7th century, about 684 CE.
This area was used by numerous Tang emperors and high officials as a burial grounds.
We specifically went to the mausoleum of Emperor Gaozong and Emperor Swu.
The site was originally commissioned by the 3rd Tang emperor, Gaozong, who chose the site for its beauty as a tribute to his wife, Wu Zetian, who later became China's first and only female emperor.
She's a very prominent figure in Chinese history, and she rose to this power pretty much self-made.
In 638 CE, Empress Wu entered the palace as a concubine at only 13 years of age.
She originally was the junior concubine of another emperor in China, and after he passed away, she was banished to a Buddhist nunnery. After that, she married his son, Emperor Gaozong.
After Gaozong's death, Wu Zetian dethroned 2 of her sons, and her official reign began in 690 CE. She ruled until 701 CE, at which point she was dethroned. Empress Wu finally died at the age of 81 in 705.
Under her reign, the Tang dynasty flourished, and a lot of the greatness that we see and all of the artifacts that we've been looking at come from the time that she ruled.
We began our day on the Spirit Way, a long path leading from the base of the complex up to the royal tombs. Lining the Spirit Way on either side are massive sculptures, including winged horses
that look like Pegasus,
famous generals, and two enormous stone lions.
We're standing on the stone path that leads to the mausoleums of Emperor Gaozong and Empress Wu.
Each of the 20 stone statues around us represents the same figure, an early general from the Qin Empire, although each of these statues was carved by a different artist. Also along the path are two massive stone tablets. The stone tablet dedicated to Empress Wu was left blank for over 500 years. This was because there were no words at the time that she felt were sufficient to capture what she had done in her lifetime.
Later on in time, there were actual inscriptions that were put onto the tablet, some of these depicting dragons. Empress Wu is also known in Chinese history as the Dragon Empress, which is a great honor because dragons depict power and strength. Outside the tomb of the emperor was also a stone pillar tablet. This one was erected by Empress Wu for her husband.
One of the most interesting things along the side of the Spirit Way is a collection of 61 life-size human figures. These figures represent diplomats from different nations and ethnic minorities. On their backs, the 61 stone statues have inscribed the names of the individuals and nations and ethnicities who were brought together by Wu Zetian to live at her court. She was known for her keen diplomacy and being able to bring together numerous people.
These really give a sense of the unification that was brought about under Empress Wu's reign.
One of the most interesting things about the reign of Empress Wu is the changing role of women and men. At the top of the stairs sit two massive lions, which traditionally represent power and protection.
Typically, in Chinese culture, a lion is depicted as being either male or female, but these lions were sexless.
This is a reflection of Empress Wu's desire to make both sexes more equal.
It was also interesting to find that during this time period, women started doing things that they weren't doing before, like playing polo and riding horses.
Coming to Qianling was really exciting today.